Hi everybody. Thank you for watching a new video with me today. I have another books and looks video for you today. If you don't know who I am Jen, and I really enjoy reading books and talking about books about as much as I enjoy putting on makeup and playing with makeup. So I put those two things together and I make videos called Books and Looks, where I put on my makeup for the day and talk about a book I've recently read. So without further ado, let's get started. Today I'm going to be talking about this book right here. It is called Felix Yz, and this is his last name. The character's last name is by Lisa Bunker. This book was really cute. There's not a whole lot to the plot, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully the timing works out with telling the story and putting my makeup on for the day. But Felix Yz. The story is about a young kid. He's 12, 13, I think, Felix, and he has this strange condition. So basically what happened is when he was 3 years old, his father, who is a scientist, was doing, quantum physics. I don't really know. He was doing some sort of science experiment, and Felix was there with him, at his job or whatever, just hanging out and visiting, etc. And something happened. So the father's experiment, which was something having to do with connecting with an alternate universe or an alternate dimension, it went wrong, and there was this nuclear explosion. Okay. Now, none of this happens in the story. This happened when Felix was 3, and it slowly comes to, be known over the first few pages. So when he was a kid and this explosion happened at his dad's science experiment, and it somehow fused an alien life form with Felix's DNA. And so Felix is basically he has an alien permanently embedded in his consciousness. And obviously the government steps in. It's we got to keep this a secret. And they help them take care of things. Oh, and the father died, by the way. So here we are 10 years later in this book, and they've been doing tests and whatnot to try to figure out how they can help Felix. But Felix has lived for 10 years with this alien that they call Zyx, Z-Y-X, because if you look at his name, it's his name backwards, Zyx. So they call this little alien Zyx, and Felix can talk to him with his thoughts, and Zyx can take over his body sometimes and type so that they can have conversations. Felix's family, his older sister, his mother, and his grandparent know all about it, but they have to keep it a secret from everybody else. So Felix has this thing in him, but it not only there's some good things, because Zyx is it's a friendly alien. It's just hey, I guess I live here now. Oh, what's something that's cute on the cover? Look at this little alien on his DNA. It's I thought that was a cute little detail, and whoever created the cover art, I like it. But anyway, so this alien is also really, really smart. Alien's not quite the right word. It's an entity from another dimension. Very, very smart, very, very nice. And they talk a lot, within his own mind. And but it also, makes his muscles tense and gives him muscle spasms, because anytime Zyx wants to move or would move in his own existence, he makes Felix move, but he doesn't have full control. So it's very strange. So Felix's whole life, they've told people that he has a brain tumor that causes physical problems or whatever, spasms and twitches and things like that. Well, so here we are, 13, and the scientists that have been helping him out have figured out, they know a way to remove Zyx from his DNA so that Zyx can go back to his own world and Felix can go on living his own life, right? So the whole book is written as a journal that Felix and Zyx write in the last month before this. It's an experiment, because they're not sure if it's going to work. And so Felix is very scared. He's not sure if he's going to survive. He's not sure what's going to happen to Zyx. And so like, here we are, 10 years since he's been 3 to 13, he's had this other thing in him. So he's, grown to, that's his existence. That's his identity. So he's very scared not only to kind of lose him, but also excited about it because he wants the freedom, but also like he might not make it. And then of course there's several little subplots. Like number one, there's a bully in Felix's school that bullies him and makes fun of him because he's so weird. And also his one teacher says, like, you're a really good writer. I want you to write a story or a prose. I don't think it's supposed to be a story. It could be anything. Writing something for this writing competition. So he does. So he's writing this thing for his competition, and he decides to write about the concept of threeness because his sister's like a prodigy piano player. And so she explains to him one time that like her fingers moving and then like the piano itself are two elements within the music that comes out of it is the third thing, and they all kind of work together. She's like, and that's what I love about it is like, it's not just me, but I have a part in creating this beautiful music. And Felix is like, I totally understand that because I'm me and Zix is Zix. And then there's like this thing between us as well. And also his grandparent is non-binary and sometimes is Vern and sometimes is Verna. And so like they have this like also a threeness where like sometimes they're Vern, sometimes they're Verna, sometimes they're a little bit of both, sometimes they're neither. So Felix is very much inspired by all these concepts and writes about the concept of threeness in the human experience. So he's writing for this. He's got this bully, and he also has a crush on this kid in his class whose name I can't remember. Hector. So he has a crush on Hector, and so there's that little side plot too. They're like friends and they talk every now and then, but they're not super close. But as the book goes on, they get closer, They start chatting online. They talk a little bit in the hallway, and it's cute because like, teenage crush, and you don't want to say too much, but you also like, you think you're in love. And so Felix is like debating like there's a Comic-Con coming and he wants to go, and he also knows that Hector is interested in the same thing, so he wants to invite him to go. And so there's all of that. It's a cute little subplot. I always like a subplot of a little romance, not too much. Like I don't want the whole story to be romance, my personal opinion. I'm gonna start my eyeshadow. I think I'm gonna go with green because I feel like green is like aliens, so I'm gonna do greens. Okay. So Felix is writing his journal, and it gets closer and closer. And if you recall, his father died. So his mother is dating very lightly, nothing serious, this guy who comes over occasionally, has dinner with the family. They go out, blah, 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 blah. And he happens to one time bring over his laptop and shows Felix how to play chess. Felix doesn't know how to play chess. He doesn't get it. But Six 100% gets it. Six, being like this, creature from an alternate dimension, just totally understands it and loves it. But the boyfriend guy, I want to say his name was like William or Robert or something, like a common name like that. But he thinks Felix is like this child prodigy because Felix picks, from his point of view, Felix, who has never played chess before, is now suddenly, first time he played, like beating world champions, right? But really it's Six, and they can't say anything because they're like bound by a gag order. They can't talk about how there's an alien existing inside their kid, right? So, So he's like, oh my gosh, we should get him in competitions, da 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 da. And they're like, oh, okay, because they kind of have to go with it, right? So there's all these little subplots going on, and it's day by day getting closer and closer to the event. He calls it 0 day. He calls it 0 day. And so Felix he's really stressed out because, he still has this bully in school, number one. He is stressing about the relationship, this little boy that he has, well, I shouldn't say that, this teenager friend that he has a crush on and that he's like trying to talk to. And about a week out from 0 day, the scientists say, and they don't tell Felix, but Felix figures it out or overhears or something, that his chance of survival is very slim, like 10% chance or less that he'll actually survive this procedure. They aren't sure, like they don't know what they're doing. They've never done anything like this before, so they're just not sure if it's gonna work. But like they also have been noticing that like his issues have been getting worse. Like Zix isn't doing anything, but just the fact that there's like an alien creature existing within him. Basically they're like, this is going to kill him, and probably soon, because like every day he wakes up and he feels sick, and it takes him a long time to be able to move his body because he's stiff and his muscles are not growing properly. Like, there's all kinds of issues. So they're like, Felix is not going to survive much longer if we don't separate the two. But also the procedure to do so, they aren't sure is going to work at all, let alone might kill him as well. So it's like 100% chance of dying if you do nothing, 90% chance of dying if you do this procedure. So like, scary. Yes, scary. I'm trying to choose different mirrors so that this works a little bit better. I have a new setup today. I don't know if you can tell if you watch a lot of my videos, but I have a different table that I'm using that gives me more space. And I'm also working on getting a new camera set up, but it hasn't been working. Like literally the last 3 videos I tried to have like a different camera set up. Like I bought a tripod and all kinds of stuff. And like, it's just, there's something off every time. Like I've changed this setting and changed that setting. So I keep going back to just like my basic stuff that I know has been working, but it's not great. Like obviously my video isn't very great. The sound isn't very great, but all the new stuff that I keep trying hasn't been functioning. So like, bear with me as I figure things out and try to make everything better, sound better, look better. I'm still a work in progress. This isn't my day job, but anyway, I hope you notice and care about my efforts to try to make this channel a little bit better with more quality videos. Shout out to my husband. He's been helping me out with the tech stuff. It's what he does. He's good at it. Anyway, I digress. So we're about a week out, and he hears that like, he has a slim chance of actually surviving. So he gets scared and he runs away. Like he literally packs a bag and literally jumps on a passing train to get away. And he doesn't go super far. I don't know, a couple of towns over. And he is like sleeping outside, and he wakes up for the first night. He like sleeps outside for the first night, and he's like, this isn't going to work. Don't like this. So the next morning, the universe helps him out, and the universe brings along this like teenage kid who is also homeless, but not. And he's like, hey, little kid, are you okay? And he doesn't really say much, but the teenager is actually very kind and helpful and says, I know somewhere that we can go. We can get you some food. We can get you cleaned up. Some comfortable place for you to sleep, get warm, etc. Because it's all rainy and cold. And so he takes them to this house, and it's basically a house with upper age teenagers, like 19, 20, 21, young adults. And they're all super kind and super helpful. And they bring him in and they feed him and they give him like hot cocoa to warm him up. And then they like let him sleep on the couch, because even though it's in the morning, like he didn't sleep well because he literally slept outside on an old car, like a bench seat from an old car. So he's not in good shape. So they take good care of him. And they also give him the space and the privacy. Like they don't bug him about like, why did you run away from home or whatever. But after a day, so like he sleeps most of the day, and then he gets up, and more roommates are there because they've gotten home from work or whatever, and they're all super kind. And so he doesn't tell them about the alien in him, but he tells them that he's been scared and like something's going on at home. Oh, he tells them the story, which is what the government says. The government's like, you can't tell people about this. Like, this is like, the world will fall apart if you tell people that, oh my gosh, a creature from the fourth dimension, an alien is existing inside of you. You can't tell people. So they tell people, like I said earlier, he has a brain tumor and he's going to like a special facility for brain surgery to remove the tumor. So he tells these kids the story, as he calls it. And they're like, oh man, that sucks. No wonder you're scared. And he decides, that sounded condescending. They were actually very, very kind. They were like, oh man, wow, that's intense. I totally understand why you're freaking out. Can we help in any way? And he decides, he's like, you know what? I want to go home. Like, I want to go home. So they help him get a bus ticket to get home. Cause like I said, he's not super far away. So they get him a bus ticket and he has several hours before the bus is coming. Actually, I think that's not till the next morning. So he spends a second night. So at this point, he's been away from home for 48 hours, right? Well, by the time he gets home, it's about 48 hours. At this point, when they decide he wants to go home and they decide to get him a bus ticket, it's been like one day. So he sleeps one more night and then before he goes to sleep that night, it's the evening and the bus isn't coming until the next morning. And so he borrows somebody's laptop because he just wants to do what he does online, whatever. And he opens up a chat, like AOL, but not like, it's not that old, but it is an older book. So it's just like a chat program. And Hector notices that he's online and Hector hops on the chat and is like, oh my gosh, hey, I haven't heard from you in a few days. Are you okay? Because we'll find out once he gets home that his family didn't tell anybody that he's missing because they were worried that like, if they told this like facility that Felix had run away and was missing, that they would bring out the Marines or the FBI because this is a big deal, right? Like he's this unique situation with alien inside of him. So they were like freaking out. They're like, we can't tell anybody. We don't know how, we can't call the police. We can't do anything. So they're freaking out. But Hector doesn't know anything because they didn't tell anybody. So Hector's like, hey man, where have you been? I haven't seen you in school a couple of days. And because they've kind of gotten close, Hector also has the threeness. I forgot. Hector is half white, half black. His dad is from Tanzania. I don't think that's right. A country in Africa that I cannot recall. So Hector is half white, half black, and like his dad speaks two languages, and so he also understands this threeness concept. So like that's another thing that bonded the two of them together as like close friends. So anyway, so they're talking on this chat and he's like, where have you been? Haven't seen you in school. And Felix decides to tell him everything, which is like a big no-no. But he tells him, so can I be honest with you and tell you all these things? And so he tells him, and Hector's like, you know what, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like that fits. Like everything I know about you. And like your, weird spasms and how when anybody asks you about your, little tics and your spasms, like you're just like, oh, brain tumor. And like, you don't really say anything. Like that makes sense because you have to keep it a secret. Hector's like totally cool about it. And so he's like, I'm coming home tomorrow. I'm taking the such and such bus. I'll be at the bus station at blah, blah time. And so Hector's like, I will meet you at the bus station and walk home with you. So, of course, Felix is, like, super excited. He's like, oh, my gosh, this is great. So, the next morning, he goes, and Hector's there, and they walk home together, and they hold hands while they're walking home. So, like, it implies, like, oh, he likes him back, and it's cute and sweet and whatever. Cute little teenage romance. And so they get home, and mom is like, oh my gosh, I've been so worried about you. And Felix basically says, like, I'm sorry, I'm terrified. I overheard that I don't have much chance of surviving. And I made a wrong decision, and I ran away. I'm so sorry. And she's like, I totally understand you're scared. I'm scared too. And so, like, this whole time, they've been kind of living in denial, but, like, not really talking about it or addressing it because it's it's freaking scary, right? So she's like, you know what, let's sit down, let's have a conversation about this. And so they do, and they all admit that they're really freaking scared. And in the meantime, he turned in his paper, and his teacher's like, it's amazing. And he wins the competition, of course, you know. But unfortunately, the award ceremony is after his surgery, for lack of a better procedure. And so he's like, okay, well, that's awesome. I won. And he gets like $200 and he gets like an award, but he can't go to the awards. He doesn't think he's going to be able to go to the award ceremony because it's after. Well, as it turns out, you know, this does have a happy ending. I should have given you that good news. Oh no, I can't find my powder. Hold, please. Okay, I'm back. So he gets home, everybody's happy, and then there's like a day or two before his procedure. They have a wonderful conversation. They offer support for one another. It's lovely. It's a happy ending. And then they go to the procedure, and it's very scary. Like, they have to shave all the hair off his body and put him in this big science-y contraption, and it's a whole thing. And the whole family's there. His sister, his mom, his grandparent, and he's terrified, but he's just like, it is what it is. Like, this is where we are. And he goes in, and they do it, and at first they think he didn't make it because it was like a big electrical jolt or something, and it made his heart stop. But the scientists knew that was going to happen, so they were right on standby. And for like, you know, a few moments, you know, they're working to bring his heart back up. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, he didn't make it. Blah, blah, blah. But of course, like I said, it's happy ending. So they successfully start his heart back up. And they, you know, he's better, and Six is gone. And at first he's like really sad about it because, like I said, like this is all he's known for a really long time, is this like secondary creature living in his consciousness, almost like a permanent friend, but also that was like making his life harder because he couldn't move properly. He couldn't speak properly because he had this second entity that could also sort of control him. But anyway, so that was its happy ending. And then like he and Hector aren't like a couple per se, but they, you know, they're, you know, really good friends, and they hang out a lot, and there is a, you know, little budding romance there. And yeah, that's how it ends. He's like gets better grades in school. Oh yeah, and of course the bully, now that he's not acting weird, the bully doesn't mess with him anymore. But also did he punch the bully at one point? Like the bully came after him and he just like punched him in the stomach, and then the bully was like, oh, and then leaves him alone from that point forward, because that's how it always happens in those movies and stuff. As soon as you fight back, the bully stops. So yeah, happy ending. Like the bully goes away. He becomes close with the boy he has a crush on. The Six is gone. He is physically healthier, mentally healthier, emotionally healthier. He gets close with his sister. Beautiful, happy ending. So yeah, it was super cute. A nice little middle grade book. Not like super intense, but interesting enough, like a really interesting concept of like what it would be like as a teenager to have this, you know, challenge in your life and everything that goes along with like being a teenager and that. So yeah, I really liked it. I think I liked how it had some LGBTQ elements to it, like Felix being gay and the grandparent being non-binary, but it wasn't like a thing. It just was like there was no anything. It was just very normalized, which I really liked. I also liked the like sub thing of like the threeness that popped up multiple times. The ones that I mentioned, and there were other times that threeness popped up, and Felix specifically like mentioned it. And honestly, I think one of the things I liked best about it was that it was told from Felix's point of view, like a journal. So it was really, I forgot to do this. So it was just really cool. And I think Lisa Bunker did a pretty good job, in my opinion, with capturing the voice of a teenage boy, which as an adult female, I can imagine is not super easy. So I liked that. And of course, I like a happy ending. It was a light read. I think it was for like middle grade. So it was a light read, an easy read. And after reading, if you watched my last video, after reading an intense murder mystery with like serial killing and stuff, it was nice to have something light. So yeah, that's the end of the book. And if you have read it, or if you think it sounds interesting and might want to read it, comment below. Tell me what you think about it. If you have any questions about the story, something that I touched on but didn't explain further, or just in general, something that you want to know about the story, ask some questions below. And if you like my look, my green eyeshadow look, I actually kind of like it. I wasn't sure when I was putting on the yellow if I was going to like that yellow in there, but I really do. So I actually really like this look. I'm going to change my shirt now so that it matches the green. So I hope you like my look. I hope you like the book. And please make some recommendations below for other books or looks you would like me to try. And I hope to see you soon in my next video. Stay beautiful inside and out. Bye.